Hello and welcome to Oral Comprehension with Picture Books in Key Stage 1. My name is Lisa Lee and I work at the Vale Academy in Dunstable. I've taught across Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. I've taught in years 1, 2, 3 and 4 and I've also been a Key Stage coordinator in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. I've been teaching since 2002, so I've seen many changes over the years in the curriculum. Our aim today is to understand and develop how to use questioning effectively in comprehension, to think about how you adapt your comprehension questioning for each group of learner, and to think about engagement and involvement for all children. So it's focusing in specifically in Key Stage 1, but you will be able to use these ideas and adapt them into Key Stage 2 if you wish so. Firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge that there are different people listening to this presentation who will obviously come from a variety of schools and working in different roles in the schools as well. Some professionals may have worked in teaching for a number of years, while others may be new to the profession. I hope that this presentation will give you some ideas on how to use oral comprehension with picture books in Key Stage 1, and like I said, you can hopefully adapt this into Key Stage 2 as well. So I've gone over our aims. So the first slide. So what are your learning objectives and outcomes? And think about who is teaching the session. So you need to think about, first of all, what do you want the children to learn during the session with you? You may have asked your LSA or teaching assistant or even a trainee who's working in your class to take the group out for the comprehension activity. So you really need to think about what you want the children to learn by the end of their time with you, and you need to clearly state this, like I said. So if you were working with an LSA or a TA or even student, you need to make sure they understand the learning objective and the outcome. So think about which group of learners are you working with. Have you focused on a key group such as engaging boys with their reading and comprehension? Are you working with EAL children? What is it that you want them to have learnt or understood by the end of the session? Are you working with SEND children? Are you going to be linking keywords with the picture books? Or are you going to be using this to support their phonics knowledge? Is your group of learners higher ability children? Is this comprehension session to extend their vocabulary choice? Are you going to be focusing on inference and looking at the character's choice of actions, for example? Or is it a whole class session? Are you using the comprehension task as a whole class session and ensuring children are discussing the picture books with a talk partner, for example? Or are you going to be talking to them as a whole class and thinking about prediction, understanding, enjoyment of the book, etc. So think about which group of learners are you working with. This is the first step to the comprehension. The next thing to think about is book choice. I've put some examples of lots of books that I'm sure you're familiar with. So think about your first book choice. Once you've identified your audience, i.e. the group of children that you're working with as discussed in the previous slide, or if you're going to be working with a whole class, this is key to ensure that they engage with the book and that it is age appropriate for them as well. Research. Make sure that you've read and looked at the book. Don't go in blind. Preparation is key so that you know what is coming next or what keywords and phrases you can focus on or discuss with the children. So research is key and be familiar with the book. Questions. Referring back to your learning objective and outcome, what questions will you be asking the children or your key group of learners? Having read the picture books, you will know and be prepared for what you can discuss and ask the children. What type of questions do you want to focus on with them? There's 6 main areas. You have analysis. For example, can you explain why? Creating. What would happen if? Applying. Which stories have openings like this? Evaluating. Which parts of the text could be improved? Remembering. Who are the main characters of the story? And the last one is understanding. Which part of the story do you like best? Can you explain to me why? So when you've got your questions, you need to make sure that with your group you have a bank of questions. Like I said before, preparation is key. Or statements that allows the children to think, answer and find evidence from the picture book that you're reading with them. You could even use prove it sentences, such as, I think that this character was not happy in this part of the story. Can you prove it to me? So again, the children have to find examples from the text. This also allows the children to refer back to the book, and you can monitor who has understood the story. Again, you're questioning, you're assessing the children all the time. Questioning should also ensure that the children can discuss the answers within their group or with a talk partner. It's really up to you how you want to take that session. The next thing to think about in oral comprehension with picture books is your environment. Think about where you will hold your comprehension session. School settings are very different. So some schools may have space for adults to take them to another room, or you may have a carpet area to sit on. Just make sure that it is a quiet area so you can all hear each other and you can read the book together and share thoughts and answers. Some children might not be comfortable in a busy area. So like I said, you just need to read your group well. So again, what group of learners are you working with? I personally like to sit on the carpet with the children and find that this makes it more comfortable for them. However, I've also sat at a small desk and delivered a session here too. It just depends on space. Like I said, all schools are so very different. Make it as comfortable as possible for the children, and this creates a safe place to share answers, ask questions, and read the book together, and really, really enjoy it as a group or class. Resources. Make sure that the children can either share a book in a pair, or if you're using a comprehension activity with the class, you could put key pages onto a whiteboard. So like I said again, it depends on your group of learners or whole class. If you're working with an SEND or EAL group, for example, then you may need a sound map to refer to. Again, to make them at ease, to make them confident, and again, that's a useful resource to have with them. I also like to use whiteboards for the children, and we can write down the answers that they've read, or sometimes if they can't read a word, they write it on there and we can come back to it later. If they've discovered a new word that they've read, or a wow word to use in their own writing. And again, we refer back to this all the time. If it's a new word that they don't understand, we talk about what it could mean, how we could use it, we could put it in context, and we also come up with other synonyms for that word as well. And again, it makes the children come back and refer to that word, and they like to use it in their own independent writing as well. We build on this during each session, and this supports their comprehension too. So just make sure you're prepared with your resources. Like I said, again, with the books, make sure you're prepared, you've read the book. Again, make sure you're prepared with the resources as well. So the national curriculum, very, very key. Your comprehension questions should be linked to the national curriculum, and you should have an understanding of what the reading statements are. Here's an example of the Year 1 programme of study. You've got the reading, word reading, and the comprehension. And you hear an example of the Year 2 word reading and statutory requirements. You need to make sure you're familiar with what the reading statements are. Think about where your learners are and what their next steps are. Again, you're working with your group of learners. So think about where they are. Are they in Year 1 programme of study? Are they in Year 2 programme of study? Where do they need to go next? Be aware of the next year group's national curriculum levels as well. So for example, if you're in year 1, be aware of the year 2 statements. If you're in year 2, maybe have a look, be familiar with the year 3 statements. So then, especially if it's a high ability, you think, oh, where could we take them next? What other questions can we do? How can we challenge their thinking? In oral comprehension as well, there's so many lovely websites. I'm just going to give you an example of 2 that I found useful, but I'm sure you've got loads and loads of other really good websites that you could use as well. Use the resources that are out there. Have a look at different websites. I'm sure, like I said, you've got your own. Sharing is a great way as well to help others in your year group. Perhaps someone finds comprehension hard to teach, so make sure that you are sharing ideas with them. Pobble 365 is a great website if you're just using a picture to teach comprehension, and they obviously have a picture for each day of the year. There are questions already there for you. I don't know if you can read these very well, but there's some examples on there. Question time. And the pictures give the children a chance to really think about what is happening. And it also shows them that you don't always have to, you can just look at a picture and really focus on comprehension as well with them. Reading Vipers is also another great website. It's not a reading scheme, but it's a method of ensuring teachers how to ask a range of questions. So for example, well, you've got Reading Vipers there, and the Vipers stand for vocabulary, inference, prediction, explanation, retrieval, and sequence or summarize. So hopefully you've learnt lots of ways how you can use oral comprehension with picture books in Key Stage 1. Thank you for listening.